I'm writing this because I honestly feel like I'm losing my mind reading the absolute fiction my ex-fiancée, Clara, 29F, is currently posting on Facebook. If you looked at her timeline right now, you'd think I was the devil incarnate, a narcissistic monster who used her youth, stole her family's connections, and threw her out on the street the second I got a taste of real money. The truth, I just dodged the biggest, most expensive bullet of my entire life. I'm a tech founder. I built a company from absolutely nothing, and right before I was about to sign a marriage license, my fiancé tried to hold our relationship hostage for a slice of my cap table. This is the story of how a perfect relationship was actually a long-con extortion plot, and how I used the law and a 15-second audio clip to blow the whole thing up.
To understand how insane her entitlement is, you have to understand how we met. 2 years ago, I wasn't a CEO. I was a broke, exhausted software engineer operating out of a tiny, moldy apartment. I had a vision for a SaaS infrastructure product, but I was burning through my savings trying to build the MVP, minimum viable product. I was eating instant ramen, sleeping 4 hours a night, and desperately taking freelance consulting gigs just to keep the server lights on. One of those gigs was for a mid-sized consulting firm owned by Clara's parents. Let's call them Mr. and Mrs. Vance. Their firm was running on legacy tech that belonged in the Stone Age. They put out a bid for an infrastructure overhaul. I pitched them. Clara was the project manager on their end. Now, Clara will tell anyone who listens that she discovered me. She acts like she was some visionary angel investor who plucked me out of obscurity. Reality check? I gave them a heavily discounted rate because I needed the cash flow, and my tech was objectively better than any of the corporate bloatware the other agencies were pitching. During the deployment phase, their entire database nearly crashed due to their own incompetent internal service. It would have cost them millions in breach of contract penalties. What did I do? I sat in their freezing server room for 48 hours straight. I didn't sleep. I didn't shower. I wrote thousands of lines of emergency code and literally saved her family's business from going under. Clara brought me takeout during that 48-hour sprint. We talked, we trauma bonded over the stress of the project. After the system successfully launched, we started dating. She was smart, attractive, and seemed to understand the grind of being a founder. I fell in love with her. I really did. I thought she was my partner. I thought we were building a life together. Fast forward a year, we got engaged. I moved her into a luxury apartment that I paid for, and more importantly, my startup finally hit its stride. The product I had been killing myself over finally caught the attention of the right VCs. We closed a massive seed round, followed rapidly by a Series A. The valuation of my company skyrocketed. I went from a guy coding in his underwear to the CEO of a multi-million-dollar enterprise. This is where Clara's narrative starts getting delusional. As my company grew, Clara occasionally introduced me to some people at industry dinners. She helped me pick out suits for pitch meetings. She proofread a couple of my early pitch decks. Sometimes she'd talk to clients at cocktail hours to smooth over my blunt technical jargon. Was I grateful? Of course. She was my fiancée. That's what partners do, right? You support each other. But in Clara's mind, introducing me to a couple of middle manager real estate contacts somehow equated to her being the invisible architect of my tech empire. She didn't write a single line of code. She didn't take on a single ounce of financial risk. When I was facing bankruptcy, it was my credit score on the line, not hers. But as the zeros on my company's valuation kept multiplying, I started noticing a shift in her vocabulary. She started using the word "we" when talking about my company. We just closed a new round. We are expanding the dev team. I brushed it off. I was busy running a company, and she was deep into planning a $100,000 wedding, again entirely funded by me. I thought she was just proud of me. I didn't realize she was mentally drafting a shareholder agreement. A few months ago, I decided to do something massive to show my appreciation for her parents. Yes, they gave me that initial contract when I was broke. I'm not an ungrateful guy. I recognize that the Vance family gave me a stepping stone. So I booked an all-expenses-paid, ultra-luxury weekend in Napa Valley for the four of us. Private jets, exclusive vineyard tours, five-star dining, the whole 9 yards. I dropped an insane amount of money on this trip. And to top it off, I bought Mr. Vance a vintage Rolex. We're talking a $15,000 watch. When I handed him the watch, I looked at him and said, "Thank you for trusting me with that contract 2 years ago. It helped me get to where I am today." I thought this was the ultimate class act. I was acknowledging their early support and rewarding them handsomely. I was settling the emotional and professional ledger. We were square. In my mind, I was entering this marriage with a clean slate, owing nothing to anyone but myself. But apparently a $15,000 Rolex wasn't enough for the Vance family. They didn't want a thank you gift, they wanted a piece of the machine. Exactly 3 months before the wedding, the mask slipped. It was a Tuesday evening. I was sitting at the kitchen table, answering emails and reviewing a term sheet. Clara was sitting across from me, her laptop open, allegedly looking at Pinterest boards for wedding centerpieces. Out of nowhere, the air in the room changes. She closes her laptop, puts on this incredibly patronizing, sickly sweet business voice, and looks at me. "Julian," she says, her voice dripping with fake innocence, "I've been thinking, with the wedding coming up and us merging our lives, I really think it would be a beautiful gesture if you gifted a small percentage of your company's equity to my parents." I literally stopped typing. I stared at her. I waited for the punchline, but she was dead serious. "Equity?" I asked, laughing out of pure confusion. "Are you joking?" "No," she said, her smile tightening. "Just a small symbolic stake, a few percent, as a formal thank you for launching you. It would officially merge our family's business interests. My parents have a massive network, Julian. It's a strategic alliance. We're going to be family." I felt my blood pressure spike. A few percent? Did this woman have any idea what a few percent of my company was worth? We are talking about millions of dollars. She was asking me to dilute my cap table, complicate my board, and hand over hard-earned equity to her boomer parents simply because they hired me for a gig 2 years ago. I shut it down immediately. I kept my voice calm but firm. "Clara, I built this company from nothing. I coded the architecture. I secured the funding. Your parents were a client. I did a job for them, they paid me, and I even bought your dad a Rolex to say thanks. They have absolutely zero claim to my intellectual property or my business. Why on earth would I give them shares?" Her face fell. Not the face of a sad fiancé, but the cold, calculating face of a negotiator who just had their initial offer rejected. She tried to argue, throwing around corporate buzzwords, telling me I was being short-sighted and letting my ego get in the way of a smart business move. I told her the conversation was over. My company is mine. End of story. I thought that was the end of it. I assumed she was distressed about the wedding and had a momentary lapse in judgment. I was so incredibly naive. The very next afternoon, I was at my office when my phone rang. It was Mrs. Vance, Clara's mother. I picked up expecting to hear about catering menus. Instead, I got hit with a velvet-gloved threat. "Julian, darling," Mrs. Vance purred into the phone. "Clara told me about your little chat last night. I just wanted to call and say how appreciative Mr. and Vance and I are that you're considering bringing the family into the business. We've always seen you as an investment, sweetie. It'll be so wonderful to have everything formalized before you two sign the marriage license. We have so many friends we could introduce you to, if we were official partners, of course." My blood ran ice cold. If we were official partners. This wasn't a cute suggestion from my fiancé. This was a coordinated, tactical shakedown by the entire Vance family. They saw my Series A valuation in the tech blogs, saw the wedding approaching, and realized they didn't have any legal hooks in my company. Because we live in a state where prenups heavily protect premarital assets, they knew Clara marrying me wouldn't automatically give them access to my company's shares. So they were trying to extort the equity out of me before the wedding, using Clara as the Trojan horse. I hung up the phone and immediately called Fiona, my company's lead legal counsel. I explained the situation to Fiona. She's a shark, and she immediately saw the red flags. She told me that if Clara and her family were willing to try a shakedown now, there was no telling what kind of legal nightmares they could cook up if the relationship went south. She asked me a crucial question. "Julian, what state are you in right now?" "I'm at home." "Good," Fiona replied. "Our state is a one-party consent state for recording conversations. From this moment forward, if Clara brings up equity, shares, or the business, you need to have your phone recording in your pocket. Protect yourself, Julian. Document everything. You need a paper trail to prove this is extortion, just in case she tries to claim you promised her shares verbally." I felt a rush of adrenaline. I wasn't just a guy having relationship problems anymore. I was a CEO protecting my life's work from hostile actors. When I went home that night, I had my phone on my kitchen counter. The voice memos app was open. I hit the big red button, slipped the phone into my pocket, and waited. I didn't have to wait long. That night, after dinner, Clara sat down on the living room couch. She looked extremely tense. I sat across from her. I knew exactly what was coming. "Julian," she started, her voice trembling slightly, though now I realize it wasn't sadness, it was the adrenaline of a gambler going all in. "We need to talk about the equity for my parents. I spoke to my mother." "I know," I said calmly. "She called me today." Clara's eyes flashed. "Good, then you know how serious this is. Julian, my family stood by you when you were nothing. I stood by you. We used our name to get you in the door. If you refuse to formally acknowledge that, if you won't do this for me and my family—" She paused. She took a deep breath, looked me dead in the eye, and dropped the nuclear option. "If you only care about protecting your precious company, then maybe we shouldn't be getting married at all." Boom! There it was, the ultimatum, the gun to the head. Give my family a slice of my millions, or the wedding is off and I'll publicly humiliate you. She stared at me, waiting for me to crack. She fully expected me to panic. She expected the nerdy coder who was punching above his weight to fall to his knees, beg her not to leave, and pull out a pen to sign over the shares. It was a classic bluff, a power play to establish total dominance before we even walked down the aisle. I looked at the woman I had spent the last year with. I saw right through the expensive clothes I had bought her, right through the sweet fiancé act. I saw a corporate raider trying to execute a hostile takeover of my life. I leaned back in my chair. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't flinch. "Okay," I said quietly. Her eyebrows knitted together. "Okay, what?" "Okay, you're right," I said, my voice completely steady. "We shouldn't be getting married. The wedding is off." The silence in the room was deafening. The color instantly drained from Clara's face. The smug, confident negotiator vanished, replaced by sheer, unadulterated shock. Her jaw actually dropped. She sat there, paralyzed, her brain short-circuiting as she realized I had just called her ultimate bluff. "Julian, wait," she stammered, the fake confidence completely shattering. That's not what I meant. Let's just talk about the—" "No," I interrupted, standing up. "We are done talking. You tried to use our marriage as a bargaining chip to extort equity for your parents. You overplayed your hand, Clara." She started to cry. "You're misunderstanding. I just want you to appreciate us." "Save it," I snapped. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and tapped the screen to stop the recording. I held the phone up so she could see the audio waveform saved on the screen. "By the way," I said, my voice dropping to a whisper, "I've been recording this entire conversation, and I have the voicemails from your mother. I have every text. I have the receipts, Clara. So if you or your parents ever try to come after my company or try to claim I promised you a single cent, my lawyers will bury you." I have never in my life seen a human being look so terrified. The realization hit her like a freight train. She hadn't just lost the negotiation. She hadn't just lost the billionaire lifestyle. She had been caught red-handed on tape attempting corporate extortion. She didn't scream. She didn't argue. Her face went dead pale. She grabbed her designer purse off the table, practically ran to the front door, and left the apartment. If you want to know what guilt looks like, look at the next 48 hours of my phone log. Starting the very next morning, my phone blew up. Clara called me 14 times. She left sobbing voicemails. She sent massive, multi-paragraph emails begging for forgiveness. Suddenly, the strategic alliance was gone. Now it was, "Julian, please, I'm so sorry. I was just under so much pressure from my parents. They put me up to it. I never cared about the money. I just want you. Please, let's talk. We can fix this." It was pathetic. When the extortion failed, she immediately threw her own parents under the bus to try and save her access to my bank account. I didn't reply to a single message. I forwarded all the voicemails and emails to Fiona to build the legal file, and then I blocked Clara's number. I was done.
I changed the locks on my apartment. When Clara realized she was completely cut off, that her golden goose was gone forever, she went nuclear. 2 days ago, she posted a massive essay on Facebook. Oh my God, the sheer creative writing in this post deserves a Pulitzer. According to her, I am a textbook sociopath. She painted herself as the silent martyr who built my company in the shadows. She claimed she gave up her youth for me. And the best part? She completely omitted the fact that she demanded equity for her parents. Instead, she claimed she bravely walked away from the wedding because I was too arrogant and refused to acknowledge the people who helped me. She painted me as a monster who coldly threw her out because she asked for a simple thank you. The mutual friends started circling. People who didn't know the tech world, who only saw the shiny surface of our relationship, started texting me. Dude, what did you do to her? Is it true you kicked her out over a disagreement? Clara thought she controlled the narrative. She thought because she was the crying woman on Facebook, she had won the PR war. She forgot about the audio file. I'm a data-driven guy. I don't argue with emotions, I argue with facts. I didn't write a long, whiny rebuttal on Facebook. I didn't get into the mud. I simply opened my audio editing software, took the exact 15-second clip from the living room couch, and exported it. The clip was crystal clear. It was just her voice saying, "We need to talk about the equity for my parents. If you only care about protecting your precious company and you won't do this for me and my family, then maybe we shouldn't be getting married at all." I sent that 15-second MP3 file directly to Marcus, my best man, and to Chloe, Clara's best friend, who had introduced us to half our social circle. I added a single sentence. This is why the wedding is off. It took less than an hour for the entire social dynamic to implode. When people heard her actual voice, cold, calculating, literally holding the wedding hostage for stock options, the illusion shattered. You can write all the Facebook essays you want about invisible labor and emotional abuse, but you cannot argue with raw audio of a shakedown. Chloe, her own best friend, was so disgusted that she forwarded the audio clip to her entire friend group and told Clara to never contact her again. Marcus showed it to the guys. The narrative flipped instantly. Clara went from a tragic victim to a manipulative gold digger in the span of an afternoon. Right now, Clara is completely silent. Her Facebook post is still up, but the comments have been locked. Word is spreading in the local consulting network about what her parents tried to pull, and I've heard rumors that a couple of their tech clients are pulling their contracts because nobody wants to do business with a firm that uses their daughter to extort startup founders. I'm writing this as I sit in my corner office. My company is thriving. My cap table is completely clean, 100% owned by the people who actually built it. I am not tied down to a family of leeches, and I didn't lose half my net worth in a messy divorce 3 years down the line. To anyone reading this, especially founders, protect yourself. People will tell you you're being paranoid, that love is about trust. Bullshit. When there are millions of dollars on the line, people will justify the most horrific betrayals by convincing themselves they deserve it. Clara truly believed that because she brought me takeout and introduced me to a few real estate agents, she was entitled to a slice of my life's work. She thought I was just a socially awkward coder she could manipulate. She didn't realize that the same ruthless, calculated logic I used to build a company from nothing is the exact same logic I will use to destroy anyone who tries to steal it from me. I dodged a bullet. Actually, no, I caught the bullet, recorded it, and fired it right back.